A geologist was accidentally bitten by a venomous snake while collecting. He saw this and quickly took out the phone to carry the player. But in the panic, one of them didn't hold his phone firmly and fell directly into the stone crack. Rego had no choice but to suck out the blood from the wound first. Then run back to the cabin in the woods while you're still awake, so as not to faint and be eaten by passing beasts. Soon he was short of breath. Consciousness fogged. After a while, he couldn't hold on anymore and completely fainted. In a daze, Rego felt like someone was looking for him. But after the other party saw his physical condition clearly, he not only did not enter the house to rescue, but quickly left. He only vaguely heard a strange word.
Let's go.
And Rego's mother, who couldn't be contacted for a long time, also didn't move after posting the last parting message. But he has no time to care about it because he is always confused. Only when the body reaches its limit can it barely wake up to replenish some water. Rego finally woke up from his coma. He doesn't know how long it has been without a mobile phone, only to find that not only was he not poisoned to death, even the wound on the hand has healed. Rego thought it was the previous first aid that worked. But to be on the safe side, I decided to go to the hospital for a review. Only then did he see that the car was covered in dust. Rego didn't think much of it when he saw it. After a simple wipe, it goes straight to the town. But after entering the town, he found that the street that should be lively was empty. And the streets were littered with supplies scattered by the scramble. And it wasn't until he saw the body on the ground that he finally realized something was wrong. I saw that the complexion of the corpse had darkened and blackened. The flies that keep circling prove that the other party has been dead for a long time. Although I don't know what happened. But with all the carnage around it, it's clear that something big must have happened. Thinking of this, he hurriedly drove home. It was only through the radio that he learned that he had been in a coma for 3 weeks. During this time, the world broke out with a deadly virus and spread rapidly in a short period of time. Destroy humanity directly. Incredible, he rushed home. But the tragic situation of his parents made him realize the reality in an instant. Rego thinks there must be survivors like him. But after a few days of searching the town, we found wreckage everywhere. Not believing in evil, he decided to go to a big city to find out. But desperately, the city is also quiet at the moment, although most of the equipment's power remains unattended. But the bright lights seemed eerie in the silence, and Rego, who had searched fruitlessly, finally accepted his fate at this moment. Tired, he first comfortably soaked in an open-air hot spring in a 5-star hotel. Then he went back to the house naked and poured a glass of wine. But just then... Unexpectedly, just after he accepted his fate, he met other survivors. Seeing this, Rego quickly covered his body in embarrassment, and after the two explained, he finally figured it all out. It turned out that the official also tried to stop it. But all vaccines don't work, and the virus is contagious and lethal beyond imagination, and before we knew it, we were wiped out. But somehow they survived. The uncle believes that whether it is immune to the virus or what, they are the chosen ones as survivors. From now on, all supplies here can be enjoyed at will. But Rego has reservations about this statement. The water and electricity in the bedroom will be cut off sooner or later. Many foods will also gradually become stale and rot. Mindless enjoyment will just sit and wait. He must find a way to survive when conditions are sufficient. The woman got up and left sadly after hearing it. After the uncle explained, Rego learned that the death of his family had disheartened the depressed party. Only with his company can I temporarily extinguish suicidal thoughts. After hearing this, Rego persuaded him to leave with him. But some crazy women fell ill again and directly refused the invitation. There is no way. He can only express that he will settle down first and then come back. But what Rego didn't expect was, shortly after he left, he heard 2 gunshots in the building. He was left alone again, and now he completely collapsed. Step on the accelerator directly to the end and plan to destroy the car and kill people like this. But the next second, a wild dog appeared in the middle of the road. The other party dog also survived the virus and happened to stop Rego's suicide. He decided to take him in and give him his name. With renewed hope, Rego went to the library and began to study medicine extensively. A series of survival knowledge such as hydropower planting finally successfully survived in this apocalypse. 1 person and 1 dog lived with each other for a year. But just as Rego gradually adjusted to this life, one day, I suddenly saw a plume of cooking smoke rising at the end of my line of sight. But he accidentally saw smoke rising from the camera. Rego hurried over when he saw this, but before it ran out, a survivor appeared on the roof with a gun. Looking at the woman's nervous expression, I haven't met Rego of the same kind for a long time, so I quickly said that I have no malice. After listening to the explanation, Anna gradually lowered her guard. It turns out that he has been wandering around since the end of the world. Only recently did I decide to settle here, just because there are no bodies in this house. Rego, who has been lonely for a long time, immediately invited him to move in and live together. The same lonely other party immediately agreed to become neighbors with him. The environment of the house next door makes Anna very satisfied. It's just that the food is eaten by something unknown. The two didn't think much when they saw it, went straight to the unattended supermarket and raided it. Because the virus is spreading so fast, humans were wiped out before they could amass supplies. And there's a lot of stuff on the shelves right now. The only bad news is that there are always rats running around here. But the two who came back with a full load didn't care at all. After the human extinction, the Earth has returned to nature again. Even a large number of wild animals are starting to slowly enter the cities. Anna thinks humans are the real parasites. The deadly virus is likely to be Earth's immune system. The goal is to eliminate the cancer that keeps destroying his body. And what the surviving dog has to do is how to keep resisting the obliteration of Mother Earth. Taking precautions, the two of them started growing vegetables together. Breeding poultry, in the mutual consolation, the relationship between the two quickly warmed up. But such a warm day is not enough. How long will it last? Don't worry about the food for the time being, but the energy crisis is beginning to emerge. I simply learned a lot of survival knowledge before Rego. Building a solar bow on the roof. Power continues to run, but at this moment, Rego received another bad news. During their relationship, Anna accidentally became pregnant. This is extremely dangerous in the apocalyptic world without any medical protection, but Anna insisted on having the baby. He believes that the two should continue the bloodline of humanity in the future. There was no way Rego could only start frantically learning the knowledge of midwifery. But not only did he not notice that there were a lot of mice in the library, instead, tell the vigilant dog not to bark and disturb himself. And as Anna's belly grew, ordinary vegetable eggs can no longer meet the nutrients that babies need. Rego had no choice but to hunt a cow nearby. But the smell of fried beef that night attracted a lot of mice. Only then did the two realize how terrifying it was to starve for something called one of the 4 C's. Rego can only donate part of the beef when he sees this, but somehow it backfired and brought in more rats. After escaping back into the house, they quickly blocked all the gaps. Even the sewers are poured with disinfectant to prevent fish from slipping through the net. But after doing all this, I found that the dog was left outside. There is no way for the two of them to tear off the steel tape again, then bring it in and quickly close the door. But in just a short while, a lot of mice got in. Each league sends Anna upstairs first. Stay and clean up slowly. Looking at the dog bitten by a mouse, the two realized that they were afraid of being trapped here by a swarm of rats. Until large numbers of hungry domestic cats ran out of food and came out to forage. The shoe harm that lasted for several months gradually disappeared, so they had plenty of food. Not only did no accident happen, she had a baby. This also rekindled the hope of life for the two of them. To convey happiness, Anna even wrote where she lived in plain sight. I'm looking forward to seeing if I can find any other survivors. And what Anna doesn't know is, soon someone saw the mark left behind. But will the other party be as kind as him? After the Earth continues to return to nature, the living environment of human beings is gradually getting worse. The remaining survivors will face a more severe test. Anna left her address in a conspicuous place. She was immediately seen by the rest of the survivors. This is an equally kind-hearted couple. After some contact, Rego took in the two directly. And with each other's support, soon both women had children. In this way, time soon came to the 6th year after the disaster. The otherwise smooth road has long since become overgrown with weeds. While driving to check today's harvest of Rego, I accidentally bumped into a little lion that passed by red. Seeing each other dying, Rego directly took out the pistol to help him get rid of the pain. But at this moment, I suddenly heard movement in the woods. He hurriedly chased after the figure that flashed inward. But when the girl saw this, she quickened her pace in horror. Rego immediately understood that the scene just now caused the other party to misunderstand. Explain it out loud after catching up. Seeing the girl covered in dirt and scrapes, he realizes that the other party may have a very difficult time. He quickly announced that he had food in the car. The girl is still vigilant, but the intense hunger still made him unable to hold back and choose to get in the car. Rego is happy to find survivors again. But when he was about to leave, he found that the lion cub had disappeared. Uneasy, he hurriedly drove away. And what's even more disturbing is that the girl seems to have autism. Don't speak at all and don't let anyone near. To understand the situation, he decided to go to the woods with the old horse to investigate again. Soon the two found a cabin in the woods deep down. It's empty, but it's full of everything. The blood-stained torture tool at the same time under Sister Ling's constant kindness. The girl finally let down her guard, and through the letter left by the other party's mother, she finally learned everything. Turns out the girl's name was Yue. When the disaster broke out, 1 billion family of 3 also took refuge in remote places, but found that even that didn't help. In desperation, the father's bestiality kept torturing the mother and daughter. Mothers who fail to protect their children can only write down words to expose the evil deeds of men. Unexpectedly, society collapsed. Humanity was wiped out, living more painfully after being snuggled up as a survivor. Those who felt sympathy decided to take each other in. Under the careful care of everyone, Yue finally slowly integrated into it. But one day, the surrounding vigilant spirits were suddenly triggered away. I saw a frightened figure speed away. Seeing this, several people hurriedly chased after them with guns nervously. Just because no figures, meaning parents, were found in the hut in the forest, they can't guarantee that the other party really died under the disaster hall. Soon, Anna took aim at the running figure, but just as he was about to shoot, he was stopped by another woman with a gun. The two immediately confronted each other nervously. Rego quickly surrounded him when he saw this. The situation is not good. The remaining 2 accomplices quickly came out to smooth things out, but Rego was still unmoved. The next day, the woman decided to put down the gun first. The hair trigger scene is eased. Then the little boy who touched the bell dared to run out. It turns out that these people are all wandering survivors. I came to check the situation after seeing the message left by Anna. It's not the evil beauty they guessed. Among them, Molly is not only a famous doctor, but also a famous singer before the cataclysm. After listening, Anna directly invited a few people to stay and settle down. But Rego is not satisfied with his decision. He thinks he doesn't know enough about these people. It's too impulsive to take in so easily, but Anna refuted that the old horse couple also took them in directly. And after a long time of contact, I realized that they are all good people. So one shouldn't speculate too maliciously about them. There is no way. So far, it is not easy for Rego to say more. Decided to test the reliability of a few people with actions. He decided to search for supplies in pairs, and must return to the designated location before the sun sets. Just because the city is no longer safe under the constant erosion of nature. There were wild animals out there hunting. They will inevitably become one of the prey. They simply did not encounter any large beasts this time. But in the assembly city, Rego found that one person was missing. It turned out that Molly acted without authorization and went to the nearby hospital to get some medicine. Rego wanted to scold him when he saw this. But watching the other party keep apologizing is not easy to say. And with a deeper understanding, the conflict that Rego imagined did not happen. Resources are still abundant and people live very well. So time slowly came to the 14th year after the disaster. The children of several families have grown up. The fire that gradually extinguished by human beings slowly grew again. Everything is going in the right direction. But that was the day Rego was raising his youngest son in the library. Suddenly there was lightning and thunder outside. And this is already the 17th thunderstorm of the month. The appearance of the weather at the end made him feel uneasy. He hurried back home to hide and count the number of people. But just after confirming that everyone is safe, quickly found that the dog was missing. Rego saw this and went out to look for it. Only then did he see that the other party was unfortunately killed by the fallen tree trunk. The death of an old friend who accompanied him for many years left Rego in great pain. The next day, a grave was specially built for his wife to pay homage. At this time it means playing in the park with his young son. When the lost Rego saw this scene, he realized that he was no longer alone. But at this moment, he suddenly saw a lion not far away. He hurriedly rushed over while yelling a reminder. The next second, the lion jumped out and tackled Rego, who was collapsed in front of him. Unarmed, he was quickly grabbed, bleeding profusely. The doomsday cataclysm that has been waiting for a week has gathered, and the Earth will last forever. Today, 2 episodes have been updated in one breath. This time, not only do they have to face the most vicious criminal gangs, the deadly virus that caused the destruction of the world is also making a comeback. The story follows the previous episode. Everyone finally rescued the bloody Rego from the beast's mouth, but everyone was overwhelmed by the tragic situation. Dr. Molly saw this and hurriedly gave command while rescuing. After many treatments, Rego's breathing finally stabilized. It wasn't until he was alone that he broke down and cried. Turns out Molly was just an intern. I had never faced such a major operation alone before, but I just pretended to be calm and afraid that my companions would worry. Anna, who didn't know her husband had turned around at the gate of hell, was now searching around the park with a gun. No matter whether it is revenge for Rego or for the safety of the homeland, he must get rid of that bloodthirsty shot. Soon Anna found the lion nearby. Soon came the 17th year of the end of the world. After the discussion, Rego's body is not as good as before. Children who grow up gradually become the main purpose of searching for supplies. Living in the apocalypse since childhood, they are new to everything. Rego's eldest daughter, Westside, is full of yearning for the vast world outside. The boyfriend, who also felt new, immediately expressed his willingness to accompany him. Rego naturally doesn't want his daughter to go out on an adventure, but under the persuasion of his wife, he finally decided to give up going out. But the requirement is that the two must be back before winter, and soon after they left, the extreme weather reappeared. It hasn't rained in the area for months on end. Soon the drought caused the taps to gradually stop running. They had to go to the water treatment plant. It was found that the nearby lake had already dried up and exposed its riverbed, and the plumbing is rotten with disrepair. Even if it rains later, it will no longer provide water. And just as I think about it, but suddenly there was a beeping sound from above. I saw several cars approaching from a distance. Rego saw this and drove back to the base to inform everyone of the news. Guns on the back end ready? Soon the group followed outside the door. Charlie, who leads the charge, says they mean no harm. I just saw a few people check the water pipes and guess that the base is in trouble, and they happen to solve the water problem. Looking at such a large group of people, Rego instinctively wanted to refuse. Anna saw at a glance that her husband was suspicious and angry again. Regardless of him, he warmly invited everyone in. And this time, as before, nothing happened. Proudly expressing that Rego is vigilant, but Rego still did not relax when he saw this. Asking how to solve the water problem, Charlie says they have equipment to snap here. The immediate condition is to provide some supplies in exchange after completion. After the negotiation is completed, the other party immediately starts to act. Seeing this, Rego slowly let down his guard. Charlie, who was replacing the drill, suddenly asked him if he wanted to try it. Rego is also excited to try new things. But I did it several times and didn't lift the drill. Only then did Charlie learn that the other party had been seriously injured, and drilling operations have slowed down since then. Either you can't dig the water source or you wear out the drill bit. Originally, these reasons were reluctantly said in the past, but one day he accidentally saw Charlie staring at the tail of his coat with evil eyes. This made Rego suspicious again, but the other party's usual performance is very enthusiastic. In just a few days, I quickly became one with everyone. Anna thought it was her husband's ego at work. Consolation that he will always be the leader of the base. Intuitive Rego also began to doubt himself. And what he doesn't know is, one night Jenny was sitting outside in a daze, and Charlie goes up and starts talking to him. Seconds to understand that Jenny refused on the spot. Charlie just wanted to have a lower action after listening to it. The boring old horse came out at this time as well.
If you change your mind, you know where to find us.
And when nothing happens, it's not good to make a fuss. And so very quickly, the time came for drilling. There was a lot of excitement around getting water again. During this time, Charlie's command was recognized by everyone. The strong appeal made him even more cheered when he spoke at the evening celebration. For a moment, it seemed that he was more like the leader of the base. But what people didn't notice was, during the dinner, Charlie gave his younger brother a look. Asu immediately found an excuse to get up and leave the meeting. Rego, who couldn't sleep late at night, suddenly heard a scream. After hearing this, he quickly looked into the distance. I saw Asu guarding Yue's door vigilantly. After a while, Charlie came out with his pants up. Thinking of something, he quickly ran over to check the situation. But Yue's autism makes everyone anxious. And that's why Charlie dared to do it to him. These days, he has already figured out the situation of the entire base. Now with the King Bee line, prepare to start tomorrow to completely control this place. Under the inspection of Jasmine, it was finally determined that Evie had been violated. Seeing this situation, Ziz quickly told what happened before. Only then did everyone see each other's true mouth and eyes. But Anna said that no matter how far she drove, the other party would definitely come back to harass her. Now we can only eliminate it to avoid future problems. Looking at the hesitant expressions of the crowd, Anna said he agreed to let people in. Now it is up to you to solve the current situation. But how could Rego give the difficult replacement to his wife? When even with the hammer found Charlie, and his expression also made the other party instantly realize that the matter was exposed. But Charlie didn't panic at all. After learning that Rego had been seriously injured, he realized that the other party had already been strong from the outside.
I've come to ask you to leave.
Rego also tried to persuade again one last time, but the other party still provoked him with speechless shame. Rego finally made up his mind after listening to it. The next second, the group of people came out of the darkness with guns. When Charlie realized something was wrong, he thought it was one night. Rego directly took the opportunity to hammer his head to Bloom. It was the first time he killed someone in his past life, which made him extremely disgusted. But after he came back, he had to resist the emotion of deceiving his son to take care of each other. Little do they know that this repression has planted a bane in their hearts. Soon the time came the next morning. Charlie's team came out as usual. Only then did he realize that his boss had disappeared. Asu, who felt something was wrong, was about to start immediately. But the next second, everyone was the first to point their guns at him. The people on Charlie's team were all confused by this sudden change. But he still firmly chose to stay here and abandon Asu. They are both forced to do things for each other. Asu, who had long been ashamed of the actions of the two and was unpopular, could only leave in despair. Just because he doesn't have any supplies, it's equivalent to slow death after he goes out. Rego, who doesn't want any more blood, decides to let nature destroy each other. Soon, 20 years after the end of the world, the two of Heather haven't returned for several years, which worries everyone. The youngest son, Kiki, plans to make a homemade aircraft to look for each other indoors. But at night, he developed a severe fever and passed out. And this is exactly the same as the pre-viral symptoms that destroyed the world back then. Soon there were a large number of people in the base with fever, etc. And after a while, it was completely depleted. What's even scarier is when I cover my son's quilt at night. Charlie's figure suddenly appeared in Rego's eyes. In the next second, the figure disappeared. It turns out that he has been in the psychological trauma of murder for the past few years. And in this moment of devastation, Heather returns home, but I can't blame him anymore. Boyfriend died outside in an accident. He was lucky to come back alive. In order not to repeat the responsibilities of 20 years ago at home, Rego decides to venture to another city in search of supplies. And the only bridge connecting the two cities was already blocked when the virus broke out. He had to throw the bike through the gap, then ride to the opposite side to find nothing unexpected happened this time. Rego arrived smoothly. Local hospital finds medicine, but just as he was about to pack it up and take it away, but found that the backpack on the ground couldn't hold it for the next second.
You're not getting him, you son of a bitch.
Although the figure disappeared again under a strong hint in his heart, but he knew this wasn't the way to go. But the top priority is to get the supplies back quickly. Doomsday Cataclysm. The Earth will last forever, and finally ushered in the end. Rego rushed back non-stop after collecting the medicine, but try it again and find that all the medicines don't work. He had no choice but to put his son in ice water and fog to cool down, but this still doesn't relieve the high fever on his body. He could only watch the other person gradually die in pain. Patients in the western regions also struggled and died one after another after a few days. Rego completely collapsed when he saw this. He thinks everything he's done for 20 years is in vain. The deadly virus is still spying on us. Ready to wipe out humanity again? In desperation, he directly erased the reception information left by his wife, and he's ready to burn all the books. Anna saw this and immediately endured her grief and dissuaded her, just because the rest of the people in the base still need to survive. The process of rebuilding civilization has never been smooth sailing. It turns out that after all the patients died, there were no other infected people. This shows that as the years go by, the power of the deadly virus is also gradually weakening, and Rego was packing up his son's pragmatism and accidentally discovered. The other party not only strives to learn various survival knowledge under its guidance, been secretly trying to fix the radio, trying to find the rest of the survivors' surprise for the father by radio. He was determined to complete his son's hospital. And then not only did they begin to rebuild the radio and pass on the knowledge he has learned over the years to new living species, so soon came a year later, and with a lot of effort, they were able to restore it. Tried various channels and still got nothing. But Heather suddenly remembered something. He'd been out and about and seen a string of numbers and arrows. The numbers were almost sprayed on the beautiful cave building in that abandoned town. You can follow the arrow to find it, only to find that it is always circling nearby. In the end, the two who found nothing also left. Rego, who thought of something, quickly ran back to the house. Then adjust the channel to the string of numbers mentioned by the daughter and call.
CQ, CQ, CQ.
This is San Lupo calling frequency 147225. Is anyone out there?
This is 147225. You found us.
And didn't expect someone to actually make a memory. Hearing the voices of survivors again got everyone excited. And after getting to know each other briefly, they were pleasantly surprised to find that the other stronghold was less than 200 kilometers away from them. There were 77 survivors.
Will you come to us, or shall we come to you?
Yes, we're gonna figure all of that out.
But just as Rego was about to speak, someone dissuaded him. Just because Charlie has caused a big shadow for everyone. Now they don't open up to strangers as easily as they used to. And after a long time without a response, the other side also realized everyone's concerns. They said there was a lot of opposition when they first made radio contact.
Why did you?
Something kept telling us. We had to.
Words of the same belief were instantly recognized by everyone. All agreed to accept each other, create a beautiful home together. In this way, time slowly came to the 50th year after the disaster. At this time, the Earth has long since returned to the embrace of nature. But after years of breeding, humans have also built towns again. I believe that in the not-too-distant future, it will become the Earth again. The owners hope that the waiting is their destruction of the land. Will not invite the self-invasion of Mother Earth again.